Hey everyone, this is me again, Spiral King. So the question is, why did I stop caring what people think? This has many facets to it, and the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I had an intuition. I just posted something on Facebook about David Long, how he's in stage green, and I had an intuition. My heart started beating really fast because esoterically, you're picking up on his ego that in the future is so pissed off it transfers into you, right? Or your own ego is part of his ego. So it could be we're on some level we have a similar soul, or we have a similar ego, or whatever it is, or a collective ego wants him to be famous, as opposed to me. Whatever it is, my heart started racing and I couldn't control it. I wasn't conscious why it was happening. And then I spoke to my heart and I asked him, "Why are you racing? What's going on?" He said, "Because he's going to argue with you." Like, I heard it more visibly than normal, and then I said, "But no, okay, fine. So we'll change it up. We'll word it differently. We'll just show him. We'll show him the CM pattern, and he'll see why he's not in tier 2 or even 3, and of course not 4." And so I did that. I left the video there, and it was, I could tell what he was thinking. But then I heard in the back of my mind the feminine voice saying, "They're going to make fun of you if." In the future, they're making fun of you because I used a thumbnail that was like this to show that, when you go through mania, this is what happens. You look like this. And I realized, okay, I need to balance out for what they're saying in the future. So I changed the thumbnail to something else. And people in tier 1, they're not going to understand this. So the reason why I don't care what people think of me in tier 3 is because tier 1 is like miles away. And once you get into tier 2, then it's like, okay, they're not going to make fun of me. They're not going to be in agreement always, but they're not really a threat to anything, tier 2, which is yellow and turquoise. But tier 1, they might be a threat, especially orange and green, who people think are in coral sometimes. Now, there is a similarity between coral and orange, where you just want money. You just want to feel secure, and you want to feel like you're the top of your game. And it doesn't really look like anything significant, except you just don't have much of an ego about yourself. And when people make fun of you, you may respond, but you don't actually care so much about responding. You just want to defend yourself and then get it over with. So there's not much of attachment. And in stage orange, you cared like, I need to be the best. I have to make sure they know that I'm the best, right? So there's more carefulness, and the reason why they do that is because they might get fired. By stage coral, you have to reach stage coral accepting that you don't care if you're gonna get fired. So those who are still working in a job 9 to 5 or any system where they have an employer and they're worried about what they think, that's gonna inhibit them from reaching stage coral and even advancing. You really have to become your own leader once you pass stage coral or get into it. And partly that has to do with your own intuition, your own survival needs, and how your intuition navigates the universe, the world. I say the universe because you're picking up on a universal consciousness, right? So I stopped caring because they're a different creature. I'm an alien. Once you get into stage yellow, tier 2 and above, you're an alien. Once you get into tier 3 coral, you're not only an alien, you're a different species of alien that no one's heard of. And in tier 4, you're just not. There's no comparison between anything. You can't compare it to anything. And there are people in stage turquoise. I think Yuval, the one who wrote Sapiens, Israeli guy, I think he says in the future this is going to happen. He has a really good predicting capacity, and he doesn't even know he's in stage turquoise, but he is. He said that in the future, humans are not going to be recognizable in terms of what we used to know. And he doesn't really know so much about spiral dynamics, and if he does, it's like, he's not that into it, he just heard of it. And so he's tapping into a truth that didn't even involve studying spiral dynamics. And that is, when you evolve, your brain evolves and you pick up more intuitive and psychic capacity, you just don't think like everyone else. So I stopped caring what people think, not only because as you evolve, it's like, who cares? They function differently. Is that you're so different than me. I'm anticipating that everyone's going to disagree with pretty much all my principles and all my values and everything I'm doing, because I'm functioning in an entirely different way. I see the world differently. I see things differently. And stage orange people and stage yellow people are going to be tempted to say, oh, you're mentally ill and you're calling that advancement of consciousness, and you're going to start a cult. That's horrible. So that's what Stage Yellow is going to say. They're going to call it a cult. They're going to call your advancements a cult. It has nothing to do with literally changing the way you think about things, changing the way you look at the world, changing your values, even though people in spiral dynamics admit that your values evolve and your values change. They don't want to admit it. Why? Because it goes against the belonging need. There is this fear to go against the grain of how society functions. And the reason they do this is because if they don't function like everyone else in society, they're scared for their lives, their livelihoods, their ways of doing things, their standards that they're used to. And if everyone acted in a way that was completely foreign, completely alien, completely psychic, for example, unconventional in how we derive truth, it's against what I'm used to. It's against my approach to life. That organized framework I predicted the world would be as we advance spiral dynamics, as we advance so-called consciousness. It goes against my vision. And therefore, I'm saying you are maybe yellow, but you have psycho craziness, and you shouldn't be in the spiral dynamics model. And so people who've probably advanced to really high tiers, they just get called names and pushed down and considered nothing. Simply because they want to preserve a certain hierarchical way of being that has to do with the hierarchy of needs. They want their belonging to be in a specific framework so they feel safe. Because if you are a high tier, I don't feel safe. I'm not going to get my needs of belonging met the way I'm used to. And that's a danger to me. And I don't want to be cognizant or conscious of how I'm thinking, because if I am, then you're the glorified higher tier, and I've been gaslighting you this whole time. That's why I don't care what people think, because earlier tiers simply function in this way.